pause this. Hopefully the YouTube stream comes back up. Unplugged. Yeah, I unplugged it on accident. Wait, what the heck is this? Yesterday, he's making a video about his Atlas strategy. The next day, why I quit. that is min-maxing. Min-maxing the content output all the way to the quit date. YouTube stream died. Both streams died. I restarted it. Hopefully, let me check to see if it actually worked. Did it restart? Okay, it did restart. So it should be able. You guys should be able to see it on YouTube now. I need to make it so YouTube can hear this because we're gonna watch Fubgun's video.
Hey guys.
How to quit PV2 farm strat. Yep. Let's see what he says. He quit. And it was the Endgame. The Endgame did it to him. What do we think he's gonna say beforehand? Hold on, let's try. I have not seen this for the record. We were clearly streaming the entire time. This was an hour ago. I did not watch this video. What do I think he's gonna say? Do we want to do a bingo board? The Fubgun bingo board? Yeah, we could probably do a whole board. We could believe in the dream. That's not how I do that. Box. Okay, into line. The Fubgun why he quit bingo board. Not fun. At the center of box. We'll think about the free square. We'll think about that could be a decent free square. Holy, look at the proportions on this, guys. Is that, did I eyeball an almost perfectly even proportions for that? That is some of the best. That is some of the best I've ever done, honestly, in terms of evenly proportioning 5 sections. This might be one of my best bingo boards yet. I'm obviously gonna destroy it. I'm gonna brick it when doing the vertical. That's already wrong. That's already wrong. Let's start out of here. I'm gonna brick it, obviously, when we do these lines, but let's just live in the moment for now. Now do the rows. Yeah, the rows I'm gonna fall apart on. The rows I'm gonna fall apart on. It's already over. I don't have what it takes to do the rows right. I don't have the gusto, the gumption, whatever you want to call it. Oh yeah, those rows are so botched. I mean, they're not too bad, actually. Yeah, no, actually, honestly, pretty good. A little bit botched at the end, but I'd say pretty good. This will be the why did Fubgun quit bingo board. We're gonna try to make some predictions here. Prior to watching it, I'm gonna say the free square is no. I can say no dopamine. Yeah, we'll say no dopamine. I think you might. I think you might actually literally say no dopamine. I think you might say that. Complaining about meta. No, I'm not gonna take any chat suggestions because you guys might have already watched the video. You might already know what he said. I can't take your guys' input. I'm gonna say no dopamine. Crafting not real. Let's go with too slow. Let's go with combat boring. Wait, I shouldn't have done a 5x5. This is too many squares. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to come up with enough things to guess. Lace does a chest the chatters to be a. I just think you guys might already watch the video, right? So we have to. Well, somebody literally came in here and asked me, "Have you seen the video?" I didn't even know this was a video. My wife's handing me a property tax bill. Wait, the most probable thing in maps, picking up white bases, doing transits, hog, regal, does it provide dopamine? Surprising? No, it doesn't. Dude, I don't know if I'm gonna get very far on this board. Maps too big. I'm gonna stretch things. This could be like one complaint, but I'm gonna stretch it into 2 complaints because I have way too many squares to fill in here. I have way too many squares. Maps empty, no maps too big. Is he gonna say anything about builds? Endgame balance cooked. I'm gonna say that. Or maybe in his words, he'll say 1 viable skill. Atlas tree is cooked. The Atlas tree is cooked. Atlas tree. Bad. Doesn't really feel like it does anything. I feel like I was trying different things, but honestly, the game didn't feel different. Like I spec'd into the Atlas, like the essence nodes, and I didn't really feel like it changed anything. And then I spec'd in the Strongbox nodes and didn't feel like it changed anything. And then I spec'd into the modifier nodes, and I died more often, but it really didn't feel like it changed anything. Like I had like 300 waste node chance, and I still got 1 fragment back multiple times. It's like, what is this? Strongboxes could be its own square. All league mechanics underwhelming. We'll say underwhelming. I don't know if that's the right word to use, but we'll say underwhelming. What's a fub gun? He's a PoE2 juicer. Dude, how many more squares do we have? All right, you know what? I think we call an audible, and we're gonna have a bingo board that's just 9 squares. All right, let's take a look at what he's doing.
I want to make a video going over my full feedback for 0.2 mapping, why I really dislike this patch, why I'm not having fun, and why I'm most likely just quitting this patch for now.
Quitting this patch for now. What does that mean, Fubgun? Quitting this patch for now. He's gonna come back to this patch. He's not coming back to this patch.
Very unfortunate, but yeah, I'm just not having fun, and I feel like a lot of the people probably feel the same. 0.2 mapping is what I care for. It's what I do the most. I only really map in this game. I don't really care for anything else, and it's just not fun in PoE2. For reference, I'm the type of person who plays any type of patch for like 2 months straight. I play like every PoE1 patch for 2 months straight. I just non-stop grind, non-stop farm. But in 0.2, I'm just not having fun, which is kind of a first in PoE, which is very unfortunate. But yeah, the last time I felt like this was like League of Calandra, and League of Calandra lasted for like 3 days. This patch lasted like 10 days, but yeah, it's just not fun. I made this whole text document here, over 4,000 characters.
Louder, please. Yeah, I'll turn them up. I'll turn them up for you guys. He made a whole write-up. Mapping is not fun. Is that one of our things? Okay, we didn't say specifically mapping isn't fun. We were saying multiple things about it. I guess this title of video is technically about Endgame. All right, anyway, let's keep going.
Going over what I really dislike about the current
Towers still bad. Is it pretty much if you're gonna min-max juice, you do need to still do like the search for 3 towers or whatever? I guess I didn't really mess around with towers that much, so I didn't really know if the tower change fixed it or not.
Endgame at the current
mapping, tic-tac-toe,
and what are solutions that we can do to actually improve it. Usually I just list problems, but I also don't want to lose solutions here because I honestly feel like currently GG doesn't understand like why some of these things are just not fun, and I really do hope they are improved. I want to play PoE2 all day, I really do, but man, it just feels like an absolute chore to do current endgame mapping, and I really hope it's fixed for 0.3. So what is my first main issue? So I have many issues and minor issues. My first main issue is towers. Towers still feel like a giant chore. You spend half your time, or maybe less than half your time, looking for a 3-tower layout. It's more or less the same issue in 0.1. In 0.1, you look for like a 5 or 6 tower overlap. Now you look for a 3-tower overlap.
He's looking for a solution where they automatically spawn in pairs. What if GG solution, they come back and like we make it so the towers cannot overlap. There, now you can only have one tower and you don't have to min max for 3.
Which is just as rare because they made towers more rare. So yeah, looking for a 3 tower overlap, first looking for a 6 tower overlap in 0.1. It's exactly the same chore.
That's exactly what they'll do. I don't know.
Still not fun despite reducing the amount of towers in the game.
The thing is, like, part of the part where this feels like a chore is because mapping it as a whole, just the layouts are super long, super tedious. The win condition is still kill all the rares, which is a terrible win condition. It requires you to go to the 4 corners of the universe, and the maps are ultimately pretty empty. So it's like the part where you have to go and zone around to get to the towers, which is just what the end game is. You know, the mapping system feels like a chore because it's just not fun. But even if they fix the towers, that isn't going to change. That the system as a whole right now isn't it.
But 2 to 3 towers is at minimum 50% more juice, but it's more like 80 to 100% more returns because juice in this game is multiplicative. Like,
if I could run the map I want, yeah, that's true. It feels like most of the time, this is, you're always playing, I don't know. Most of the layouts are just not great. I feel like every time I was looking at layouts, it would say Decay, Seepage, Forgotten Grotto. It's just like a lot of layouts where just like, I don't really want to do this. Sulfur Caverns. A couple times I'd be happy. I'd see Sandpit and I'd be happy. And then that wouldn't last very long. It feels like for every one Sandpit, I'd be running 3 Seepages.
Quantus multiplicative rarity.
And that ratio continues for the other bad layouts.
Increase rare monsters on your map, which is multiplicative also with your player rarity. So yeah, it's more like 100% more returns on 3 towers. It is so much more juice in 2 towers that it feels, once again, like mandatory to do. Just like how the 5 or 6 tower setup in 0.1 also felt pretty mandatory if you really wanted good loot. Because if you're just doing like 1 or 2 towers, your loot feels really, really trash. So what is the solution here? I have 2 solutions here. You either make towers spawn in pairs, so 3 tower setups just can't be a thing, and 2 tower setups become really, really plentiful. You just design it to where towers just cannot overlap more than 2. This would make it so like anywhere in the atlas is viable to go because there's 2 tower setups everywhere in the atlas, right? It's not that hard whatsoever. It's just when you're searching for 3 tower setups, it becomes really, really tedious because it feels so much better than 2 tower setups, and the juice returns are just...
Wow, I'm kind of surprised the solution you're suggesting is what I was joking about was that they'll just nerf it.
Way more massive. But yeah, 2 tower setups are everywhere in the atlas, and it wouldn't be an issue if it were just limited to 2. And also another issue with searching for 3 towers, you also end up in situations like this, where you can't see stuff in the fog of war. So even if you see a 3 tower setup in the fog of war, you go to it, and it might end up like this, where yeah, it's just water in the middle, and your tower setup is completely dead. This feels like shit. I don't know how they could change this. Obviously, they changed to 2 towers only, you won't have this, but yeah, when you get a 3 tower setup and in the middle is just water, it feels so bad because it feels like you just wasted so much of your time.
Scam by
anyway,
water.
That is my big major issue with towers. Another solution, and one I like more, is just don't log juice in behind towers. Is there an actual good reason why juice is locked behind towers? Because I can't think of one.
So these map 3 tower layouts are hard to find rather than just accept that it's a rare occurrence. It's broken if you can't min-max 100% uptime. I mean, I think I think the real problem is just the mapping system as a whole. The part where he has to travel to go get to those tower or whatever is not fun, which is just the mapping system as a whole. The maps you can't choose the good layouts on. You always get bad layouts repeatedly. The win condition for each map is walk around every corner of the map and search for rares. Like, because the core of what you're doing isn't fun. That makes this, for him, feel even worse. But it's going to feel bad for everybody in general.
There's already good reasons to explore the atlas, right? You have citadels, you have corruptions, you have unique maps, and
it sounds like a Jonathan type answer. What I'm saying, I'm saying, I'm saying the problem's worse than just towers. I think it's just the entire system. The freaking, you can't choose your layouts, the kill every rare, the huge freaking every zone's massive. I think he could be more critical than he's being, is what I think personally. I think it's a bigger problem than just towers. So you make the tower spawn in pairs. I think the end game system still kind of
you're going to explore the atlas regardless if Juice was behind towers or not. I don't think there's a reason Juice has to be locked behind towers. And even if towers didn't have Juice, you would still do them because they reveal a large portion of your atlas and also reveal like citadels in the distance. They are still extremely useful even if juice weren't tied to them. So personally, yeah, I would like the tablets to not be tied to towers. Maybe instead the tablets are more so tied to like your map or like your map device. So it'll be like a tablet window right here. You put 3 tablets in, and then for the next 15 maps, you get those 3 tablet effects to also make them more powerful in exchange because it'll only be 3. Yeah. Or you can make it like 6 tablets or whatever, right? Either way, I don't think tablets need to be locked behind towers for juice. It currently just feels terrible. Towers had to be fixed for 0.3. The current endgame mapping experience is just not fun. Another big problem of mine is
that I think, I mean, when they were doing the 0.2 patch, I was thinking it was a situation where they'd show up and say, we got rid of the system. It was just battle together. But it was, we're going to try to fix the system, which I don't know. Maybe they got like sunken cost on it. But PoE 1 had it right. You could pick your layouts and just do them over and over again. And people could be happy running the maps they want to run. Type of thing. Doing the zones they want to do.
Tedium in the endgame is way too high, especially when compared to PoE 1. You have map rolling, for example, only rarity maps are useful. So you go to a map tab, you look for only rarity maps, you put in your regex, like rarity of items found, right? And then you only take out rarity maps because every other map is pointless. You don't care for a map that has like increased amount of rare chests. This is an entirely pointless mod and does absolutely nothing, and it's way worse than rarity. And a lot of players don't even know how impactful rarity on the map is. It's multiplicative with your player rarity. It's a massive difference of both currency and rare loot drops, which is a big portion of your currency gains. If you're not running rarity maps, you're just making way less currency. It is so mandatory to run these maps currently in the game. So you have map rolling, you have tablets, 3-to-1 tablets with a reforge bench, and you have to roll them like transmutation, aug them all, and then only certain mods of those tablets are worth running, just like maps, and they have to have quant on the tablet pretty much. And then distilled emotions and corrupting. So there's so much to do just to run one map in PoE. It's so tedious and time consuming. I don't really see why a lot of this can be reduced. I'll talk about that later. First things first is like
tedium in endgame is actually high. Map rolling, only rarity maps are useful. I mean, you can't roll maps though. You just have to use the ones you have because there's no alteration orb or any way to redo them, right? Let's not forget Fub is a top 0.1% player. Yeah, like the rarity on maps that have to be this way, the way he's talking about that stuff, isn't going to necessarily apply to for most people. Most people will just accept the fact that they're not getting maximum amount of loot in their maps. Like, I personally wasn't looking for rarity on my map or whatever. I was just running whatever.
Why can't the distills be applied to the maps directly like how it is in PoE 1? So just to show, I'm on Path of Exile 1 right now. If you don't know how instills work in this game, all you do is click it, hold down shift, and there, that's it. It's done. It's so much faster and so much less tedious.
Yo, what the hell? Why is he flexing 35 mirrors on me right now? I feel poor now, Flubgun. Go back to your PoE 2 stats that only had 75 divines. Like, what is this? Why you gotta flex your 35 mirrors, man? This is really messed up.
I don't know why they made it strictly worse in PoE 2. It makes absolutely no sense. Just make it work exactly like PoE 1. What was wrong with this method? So yeah, in PoE 2, if you don't know what I'm talking about, this is what it looks like, where you have to right-click to distill paranoia, put in your map, put in all 3 paranoias, then click instill, and then click the map out. It's so much less work, and it's all these minor things adding up that makes the map experience unfun, especially in the higher end, and even on the lower end as well, right? I don't think searching for towers for anyone is fun at all. Next solution is rework map mods. Maybe make it more generic like Path of Exile 1. Every map
just as bad as 35 mirrors. Well, the 35 mirrors from PoE 1, which he likes endgame PoE 1. His video is about his issues with endgame and PoE 2.
That mod adds quant, rarity, and pack size. In PoE 2, it's only the prefix that matter, and the suffix essentially don't matter. This give you waste on drop chance, which you don't really care for when you have high-end juicing, you have infinite sustain anyway. If every map mod did matter though, you would just go for 6 mods every map. You wouldn't care what prefix or suffix they have because they all have quant and rarity and pack size. You want to make it way less tedious. You just pick out any map, as long as you can like run the modifiers like no pen or something, exalt, and good to go. You won't have to look for.
We haven't got a single thing, dude. I guess I should have put more things down. I was way off.
Only rarity maps. This change would also vastly improve loot for the average player, because I'm sure the average player doesn't even know about running only rarity waystones. Once again, if you aren't running only rarity waystones, you definitely should be. It's a lot better loot. Like I said, allowed to still be plenty of maps like Dueling in PoE1. I just showed that. I'm not sure what exactly to do with tablets, but currently they feel way more tedious and scarce than PoE1, so yeah, I think that should just be changed. My next major issue is all lead mechanics feel absolutely useless, and the Atlas also feels pointless.
We got
These
one,
kind of go hand in
baby!
hand. Solution, massively buff every lead mechanic. You know, what's the point of these huge maps if we're skipping every single lead mechanic inside it? Like, why are they huge in the first place then, right? We should want to do every single lead mechanic that pops up. It should feel exciting and it should be rewarded. Currently, you just skip pretty much every lead mechanic unless you're fully invested into it. In my opinion, the Atlas tree needs an entire rework. We need way more investment into the lead mechanics. You should be able to fully spec into any type of lead mechanic and get massive returns out of it. Currently, this Atlas tree is just so boring and you can barely invest into anything. Rogue Exiles have a maximum 9 points, and you don't even take all these points even if you do Rogue Exiles. So yeah, there should be like 3 times more choices and Rogue Exile nodes here, and this is true for everything, like Whiffs, Essence, Strongbox, Shrines, right? We need way more options and way more points in Atlas tree. The PoE1 Atlas tree is like 130 points with like 10 times more nodes. It's way more interesting and way better than this, because yeah, I don't know what's going on here. Everything feels worthless, and every Atlas tree is going to end up looking like this, where you're just taking map effect and like rarity and quant nodes, because
you know, that is kind of the thing, though. It feels like some of your best nodes are just the 2% quant nodes, 3% rarity. I guess that is a telling factor for how rough the actual tree is, if those nodes feel like some of your best nodes. PoE1 Atlas is really well done. They should go different directions and learn lessons. PoE1 League, well, I think, yeah, a lot of stuff feels like it's being different, or specifically not doing it the way PoE1 did it because to be different or something.
These other Atlases are just worthless. They don't even feel worth taking. But lead mechanics right now, like Rogue Exiles, just feel absolutely awful. For example, even if you fully spec into Exiles and Atlas tree, you still only have a 20% chance of seeing 1 Exile every single map. So 1 in 5 maps. That is just completely trash, and it's like not fun. Like, you want to fully invest into Exiles, maybe make them more tanky but more rewards, and you see them every single map.
You know what Flubgun did wrong? This is why I never did the Rogue Exile strat in Phoresia. Okay, not really, but he came off the high of seeing 50 Rogue Exiles every other map with Omega Giga loot. He had so far to fall. I never made one of those sets. I didn't get around to it, and now I can't miss out on that experience. I don't know what it was.
Interact with them every single map. That would be a lot more enjoyable gameplay experience, in my opinion at least. To go over quickly what every lead mechanic should at least get at a base improvement. Strongbox needs way more loot, drops practically nothing. I don't know, Strongbox are still useless. I don't know why they aren't buffed. Again, they still feel just as useless as 0.1. The monsters just spawn faster. At the very least, unique Strongboxes do feel good, so that is nice. That was a nice addition in 0.2. Virtual, we need the item filter applied to the virtual window. If you don't know what this is, in Exile 1, you can apply your...
Wait, you can't apply your filter to the current window? They don't have the technology, man. It's not there yet.
Blue filter to the item window, which makes all the bad items automatically just gray out, so you don't have to bother with them. You don't have to...
He has valid complaints. Yeah, he's... The things he's upset about, I think, are pretty legit issues. If you say this is only a problem because he's rich and he needs to drop more currency, I don't know. I think a lot of these things are valid problems, and I'm not necessarily an endgame juicer in any sense of the word. And I think there's a ton of other people saying a lot of the same things in terms of tree doesn't really feel like people ask me, like, throughout this entire, like, the 7 days or whatever we were playing, they were asking me, what's your tree lance? And I'd be like, initially I was like, I'm trying out essences. Right now it doesn't feel like it's doing anything. Next thing it was, I'm trying out Wish. Doesn't really feel like it's doing anything. And then next thing you know, I was trying out Rogue Exiles. Doesn't really feel like it's doing anything. You know what I mean? Would you want steak tonight? I'd be down for grilling steak tonight. None of them do anything. Yeah, you eventually get to that conclusion where you try all the different mechanics and it doesn't feel like it really changed anything, and it felt like it didn't really matter, and it was just like, well, this is kind of sad.
Cover them and mix the good items, highlight, so you can quickly see if they're worth taking. And the ritual itself should drop some amount of loot. I don't know why the ritual feels like it drops absolutely zero loot. It should drop some.
Hey, it drops loot when you can reroll the vendor repeatedly. Well, I guess that's not what he's talking about. He's talking about you fight the monsters and the monsters that you killed actually drop something.
Amount of loot like in PoE1. For Breach, please take away the one-drop splinters. This is something Jonathan even promised that the market.
That I remember that. I remember I was arguing with Pal. Pal was like watching him. When was this? They were talking about the breach splinters, and they were saying they were going to have them drop in stacks, and it wasn't going to be 300 clicks. And I was like, yeah, that makes sense. And I was arguing with Pal that it wasn't going to be one splinter because that's what they were talking about. And then we show up and it's all one splinter. Just 300 clicks per breachstone.
Majority of splinters would not drop in one stacks, and now we're 2 patches in, and once again, the majority of splinters are still 1 stack drops. It does not feel fun picking up 100 individual splinters every single map. Why is this not changed? I'm not sure why. Also, increased amount of rare monsters, they vastly reduce the power of Breach, and it feels really terrible now. It should get another buff in my opinion. That was nerfed way too hard. Give it like 2 or 3 more additional rares at least. Building up to get the PoE1 scale in, so higher deli equals higher monster quant, which means more loot. For example, in Path of Exile 1, 100% delirium is 50% monster quant, which is 50% more loot, but it's also like 90% damage reduction. In PoE2, 150% deli does not feel more rewarding than like 45% deli, so it's really weird. They should make it way more rewarding, but also way more challenging. Exile, I just talked about it, but they're completely worthless right now. They die in 1 hit, they have like no HP. I would say just buff their loot by 20 times, like actually 20 times buff, and make them like 10 times more challenging, so they're actually like a real fight, like a...
Okay, well hold on there, Fumgun. 10 times more challenging. Fumgun, you have to understand, buddy. Not everybody's playing Lightning Sphere. Okay, relax. Relax. They definitely could be harder, but at the same time, so many builds, if you make the Rogue Exiles 10 times harder, are just getting absolutely cooked.
Mini map boss, but they drop a lot of loot in return.
Let's relax.
Wisps barely feel like they add any loot to the game right now, and you also have to wait for them to power them.
I want them to be a jump scare in my maps. Yeah, I feel like initially when I first fought one, it felt like pretty sketch, and then the next day they patched them, and then they never felt like they were a challenge at all. So they definitely could use being harder and doing more stuff, but 10 times would probably be
mobs, which is just terrible gameplay. I really feel like Wisps just need an entire rework. I don't see a world where you have to wait and not attack the monsters for the Wisps to go through them, and for that gameplay to actually feel rewarding and fun. I don't know. Having to wait to kill monsters in an RPG is just not fun, and it never will be fun. My last major issue is loot. Loot is not exciting, only Tings or Divines and Keys, which are both very rare in 0.2, and once again, most uniques still feel bad. There's a few drop uniques that do sell for a little bit, but yeah, most of them still feel terrible, especially one compared to PoE1. The solution is, we just need more extended drops in the game. Stuff like div cards are coming, which...
I did a 3x3 bingo, and I still lost.
would help, of course, but the current rare loot is just way too rare. For example, an average player should find more than 1 divine every 8 hours. If you want to see my pilfer ring personally, I have 48 raw divine drops, 2,000 exalts, and 4 perfect jewelers. I think the average player is probably somewhere around like 1 to 4 divines, and there might be like 40 or 50 hours played. It takes way too long to find a single divine. I, at most, at maximum juice, my fast character, 90% move speed, I find like 1 divine an hour at max. And like, things are just fun to hear, right? Like dropping this and hearing this noise is what makes PoE endgame fun. Hearing this over and over and over again is what's actually fun about farming this game. So when you only hear this like once every 8 hours, it just feels bad because the other 7 hours just aren't fun to play. Here to gear also feels too rare if you have no rarity. I think the amount of rare drops is fine, so keep the amount of rare drops in total the same.
Yeah, if he's only finding 50 divines with how many hours he played, that means how many raw divines do you think we dropped? I think I maybe dropped like 5 or 6 or something like that. He's played really efficient, yeah.
But increase the chance of seeing tiered rares. I think tiered rares are a great system.
You talking about raw ones? I don't think I've gotten them at this rate in PoE1. You'd get him a decent amount more in PV1 for sure. Like the 48 he dropped was from playing a ton of hours. Check out the mirror price in PoE2. Standard or like
It's a system I want in
elite?
PoE1 actually, but
Probably
currently if
super
you're not running
inflated.
rarity with like a full juice atlas, they are just too rare for the average player. They should be a bit more common. Now the last issues I want to rapidly go over is minor issues. These are minor issues. The last four were my big four major issues that I really want to fix at 0.3. These issues aren't as big, and if they aren't fixed at 0.3, not a big deal, but I'll go over them real quick. First,
Really? That's it? I gotta be honest. I think they do all the major, what he's considering major issues. I feel like Endgame's still not gonna be very fun. I guess most of his stuff was tied to the amount of loot you can generate and the amount of monsters you can push in maps or whatever. I feel like there's you got maps too big. Did he say maps too big?
problem, having to buy juice from trade. So this was fixed in Path of Exile 1. I'm not sure why they introduced it in PoE2 with unique tablets. I think unique tablets are a really cool idea, but having to buy these constantly from trade is just so unfun. Once again, we fixed this in PoE1 where you just buy scarabs and you buy all your map juice from the currency exchange, in this case Alva, but you can't buy this from Alva. So you have to go on trade and keep constantly buying these unique tablets, which is not a fun and enjoyable experience. Solution is just change the unique tablet into another form of item that can be tradable on the currency exchange.
Give him a ting, he'll play whatever. If there's a lot, well, the tink requires it to have value, right? Like you can set up your filter to have something that tinks, and then you drop it, and you're like, oh, it's that. It wasn't even real. The reason I stopped would be fixed by it, not getting any loot. That is good fun is my biggest problem. The thing is though, like the reason the divine is valuable in PoE2 is it's pretty limited in drop rate. Let's say you make it so the divines drop more because you have more juice and that sort of stuff, but then its value tanks through the floor because there isn't really enough of a currency sink for it. Like there is a currency sink for it. It's divining items, but it's not really enough of a currency sink that if you start making it more common, would it actually do that? It will be just inflation. I don't know why people yapping about divine drop rates. Well, that's what I'm saying. It's like if you necessarily make the divines you make in maps more and more common, their value will deflate, and then it necessarily won't be that exciting to drop them.
Exchange, or make them into a special tablet with no row rangers, and you can just buy them on a currency exchange with no issue. Next is reforge bench. The problem is the reforge bench. Reforge over your soul emotions before defending this. I think the reforge bench is just absolutely really trash. It takes way too long.
People who are defending this, reforge all your distilled emotions before defending this. I mean, yeah. You're not going to be able to make the argument if you try to reforge yourself at like up to the higher level oils. It has a pretty significant delay between when the thing actually procs.
Animation, I don't know why it's there. Solution, you can keep the reforge bench. Like, sure, it's very intuitive for new players, but add the same vendor function that we have in PoE1. In PoE1, you can just use the vendor to do the same thing that reforge bench does. So, for example, for distilled emotions.
Yeah, I love how all the solutions, so just pretty much every solution is do what PoE1 did. And that's like the answer for so many things. And I feel like it's correct too. They made so many problems with themselves to solve what they already had fixed. Yeah, it feels that way for so many things. Best endgame system of an ARPG has ever seen with maps. and then they're like, nah, man, we could just yoink that system. Nah, let's do a worse version of Delve. They have to drag around. You're forced into certain layouts that you don't want to run. They finally get to feel what it's like competing with PUE. Yep.
For example, you can just go to a vendor, you could put all 3 in here, and it'll give
devolution.
you the 1 tier higher. But in PUE 2, you have to use a reforge bench and do this 1 at a time, which is just, yeah, I don't know what they're thinking, but this is just not it. Another issue is movement speed. It's way too scarce. We need more ways to obtain it. And stuff like unique boots feel absolutely worthless if they have like 10 to 20% MS, because you get 35% MS from your boots and you don't have 35%, the game feels bad to play. I think a good solution is add more movement speed options to the game, not necessarily increase the speed of the game all that much, just add more options to the game so people can invest into it. You know, the game feels really good at like 60 to 80% MS, but only a handful of classes can actually reach that. So Monk, Huntress, and Ranger are pretty much the only classes that can reach that. Maybe Witch Hunter as well, although it's a little bit harder for them. But yeah, playing any other class that can't reach these move speed nodes in the tree, like all in the Ranger area or in the Monk area, just feels absolutely trash. It does not feel fun playing like a Witch and moving at 20% move speed in the end game. You know, it does not feel fun if you're playing a more so melee mercenary.
Yeah, I agree. Why the hell do the Rangers get movement speed built into their tree? I think we should remove their movement speed. They should not get 30 extra movement speed that other classes don't get. Equality, baby. Equal rights, equal slow movement speed. You know what I'm saying? Take it from them. They don't deserve it.
You have to like go over here, you have no movement speed nodes, and you just move at 20%. It just feels bad. If every class at a baseline could reach that 60 to 80% mark, and then maybe at the top end with very high investment, this is 120% MS, I really feel like a small change like that would make the game
break the Rangers'
more fun
legs,
and enjoyable to play, especially because we're in giant, huge maps. If we're going to be playing these giant, huge maps, we should have a little bit more base movement speed. You know, running at a massive map with 20% MS, and you have to walk for like miles, it's just not very fun. Last minor thing to complain about is downside on shrines. I don't really see why we need a downside on clicking a shrine. If you're not paying attention, you click a greed shrine and you just break all your loot for the next minute until you notice and click it off. You know, solution, just remove corruption shrine and change greed shrine to where you get 100% cold quant instead of converting all your drops. I just don't see why shrines need the downside in this game. It really makes no sense when you click on it and you just get a complete negative downside. So yeah, please change this. But anyway, that's my entire feedback video for 0.2. Unfortunately, I feel like I am probably just going to stop here. Once again, I'm usually the type of player who can play for 12 to 14 hours every single day for like a month plus, 6-8 weeks, but I just can't at 0.2. It's just not a fun and enjoyable experience. You know, I really want to enjoy the game, but I just can't right now. I do hope that 0.3 will fix the majority of these issues. I do believe in GG will make a really good ARPG eventually, but currently...
Eventually... They already did, Fub God. It's called Path of Exile 1. Eventually. Yeah, that's funny. That makes sense because it is early access. Can we stop saying early access, guys? Can we stop saying early access? Okay, we just have to accept that currently... I don't know, man. We'll see how many more changes happen before early access. Strike should be the movement speed archetype. You got like juiced legs or something. They don't need movement speed on the ranged play type. John said that more players play, there are more players playing it, so they can't be doing that bad. But yeah, that's not how it freaking works, though. PUE 1 is like almost closing in on a year since the last update. You obviously can force the player count to be higher by just not giving any updates and be like, here's this new thing for PUE 2 again. 75% of PUE 2 is PUE 1, so I don't think the early access argument works. I don't know about 75%. I think it's a lot more different than that. I feel like it's Because there's so many instances where you go like, hey, I don't like this thing, and then your solution to the thing you don't like is make this like PoE 1 because it's not like it right now. I PoE 2's biggest problem, I think, is that it's trying to not be PoE 1. I think that's its real core issue, is it's trying to not be PoE 1, and therefore they're intentionally doing things that are just different to be different, and then they're bad because the good thing was already done right, and they're purposely not doing that because it has to be different or something. They're trying to make it a different game. Yeah, and that's the problem. Because they're trying so hard to make it a different, there's certain things that were already done right, and then they have to do it different because they're doing it different, and then different is just not, like, I don't know. It's like you have the answers to a test where you know all the right answers, and then you tell yourself you're intentionally going to answer differently than what is the correct answer or whatever, something like that. Now, why not stay in the first one, then just never play the other one? Well, I don't think it's just about, like, I think a lot of King Rage, a lot of what people are upset about is resources, where a lot of people have contributed over the years to this game went into PoE 2, which is a game they don't like, and they thought it was going to be a game they do like, you know what I mean? I don't mind PoE 2 being different, but for the love of God, please give us people who want PoE 1 gameplay a freaking update. Yeah. losing the patch cycle for over a year has been rough. I also think the delay with the number of people who quit, so we might not see the effects of the bad patch till the next patch. Time will tell what happens to the player base, but I don't know. I'm hoping they start becoming more willing to do more drastic changes towards the vision. All right, I'm gonna stop ragging on PoE 2. I don't know if it's helping anything. Player base will go down until full release. Yeah, and it should spike back up in full release. Hopefully by full release they cave on a lot of the vision stuff and are willing to go back on certain things that just aren't fun. PoE2 burned me so bad that I went to work on my graduate papers instead, since that was more interesting. I mean, your graduate paper should be interesting to you, right, Death Rage? It's what you chose to... I would hope you'd find some interest in what you chose to, like, put so much time into for your graduate degree, right? What would be a real bummer is if, like, the thing you choose to spend all the time getting higher education on, you don't like it all, right? It's no fun. Yeah, I mean, it's also, like, you know, work and hard and difficult, right? So that's fair. How good is LE? I would say, I think, in my opinion, it's the second best ARPG right now. I think, in terms of ARPGs I enjoy, I like PoE the most by a pretty large margin. LE's still quite a bit farther behind PoE 1 for me, but then it is still fairly fun. I play it probably every other patch usually. For me, LE, I previously have played anywhere from like 2 weeks to 4 weeks is the time frame I play it in terms of, like, I'm enjoying this for about this amount of time or whatever. I remember procrastinating on my homework and was playing PoE 2, then I died, lost 3 hours worth of XP, and I just logged off and started doing homework. The hamster wheel isn't good enough. Ellie has massive potential. They've also, it's also a game where I like each time I come back to it, I like it more than I did the last time significantly. So I've been my view of it's been improving over time, and that for me is a very important thing, that the development of the game is going in the correct like trajectory in terms of like I'm liking what they're doing. And the funny thing is, Ellie was in early access as well, which I played it. Yeah. When I first played it, it was early access. It had issues, but no one acted the same as with PoE, which I find interesting. King's Rage, you have to understand the context here. The context of PoE early access is they had a very big budget and development time before they even launched the early access of PoE. On top of they had a whole other game of experience. Whereas last Epoch was, when it was in early access, was a very small operation, right? It was actually like legitimately, it's something that you could tag and say, this is something that doesn't have an insane amount of dev power behind it. Which isn't really the case now for Ellie. Ellie's gotten a lot more backing and developers for it since the earlier days, but that stuff matters a lot to people in terms of judging it, you know what I mean? Nobody would care about PoE 2 development if they kept putting out PoE 1 patches. That's the other thing, yeah. Because the people that don't really care for what they're doing for PoE 2 are even more upset because it was constantly said, this won't affect PoE 1. And that it meanwhile has significantly affected PoE 1. I'm asking because everyone's solution is making it like PoE 1. The solutions to the things that are bad, the things that are unfun. Do you just don't think that is the solution, is what you're saying? The fact that it's caused the 9-month Settlers, yeah. Well, it's about to be. We're closing in close to the 1 year Settlers League. All right. Anyways, I think we're gonna call it today. I'm gonna grill the steak tonight. Tomorrow we'll try to start stream at least a couple hours before the last Epoch season 2 launch, but the plan is gonna be bleed hammers into, I think at about level 40 we'll do the respec for time rot, and hopefully it just works and the build's good. It could also be we respec at level 40 and it's trash, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Have a good night, Bangeros. You have a good night too. Appreciate you guys hanging out. Sorry it was a bit of a scuff stream with unplugging the computer and whatnot, but tomorrow we log in and hope the servers are alive. Pal's doing VK spin to win? Yeah. There's probably gonna be a lot of people playing Sentinel just because it's the class that is getting reworks and updates, right? That's always kind of fun to do when you're looking at which class you want to play is what class got the updates. See who's online. We'll send you guys the Dread. I was accused earlier of not supporting last Epoch creators. Looking for non-crap game. Wait, what? Connor's playing LE too? Fumgut's playing LE. Oh my goodness, no. All these PoE refugees. They aren't allowed here. What are they doing? It's over, something like that. All right. I'll send you guys over to Dreadful stream. Does he have 2 underscores in his name? Is that 2 underscores? That is 2 underscores.
People's perspective of what is amazing and insane.
He's making his name so much harder to type. So much more cooked. All right. I'll see you guys later. Have a good rest of your evenings.
Doing today? I'm doing great. What's up, Tiny Pickle Packer? How are you doing today?